D-Wade's kind of trash now.
Yeah, he's washed up for sure.
How about the Miami Heats? Am I right?
Hi, welcome to Backside Athletics. We're doing our fantasy basketball advice. And for the first topic we got is waiver wire pickups. My first guy is TJ Warren. He's owned in about half the leagues on ESPN. He's capable of exploding on any given night. A couple games ago against the Wizards, he had a 40-night performance, and that was his career high. With Eric Bledsoe being in the situation he's in on the Suns, he can definitely have this type of performance every now and then. So it's worth your time to go pick him up on the waiver wire. But speaking of Eric Bledsoe, what are some possible destinations you find for him?
I could see him going to the Denver Nuggets. They're in the market for a point guard. Also, the Milwaukee Bucks would be interesting pairing him up with Giannis.
Did you hear anything about him going to the Knicks? How's that?
I have heard that. I don't know. The Knicks aren't really willing to give up that much, I've heard, to get him.
Well, it was a stupid part on the Suns GM, like right away, because when they had that barbershop thing, he claimed he was at the barbershop, and he's like tweeted, "I don't want to be here." And when the Suns were like, "You're not playing anymore, we're trading you," they lost all leverage with other teams because they basically like, "We're trading him no matter what. It's not like we want to keep him and we can get a lot for him." So they lost all leverage with that, and it was pretty stupid on their part. All right, next guy we got is Jonathan Simmons. He's averaging 26 minutes a game on the first place Magic. Actually, second place now. They lost to the Bulls yesterday, and the Celtics took over first place. But a top two team in the East right now. He has the ability to become a consistent fantasy producer. Last year on the Spurs, when Kawhi was out, he took over for the Spurs in the playoffs, and he did a pretty good job. And with 3 of his last 5 games, he scored more than 17 points off the bench and over 21 fantasy points in like all leagues. So he's a pretty good threat. So what do you think about Jonathan Simmons?
I think that if he continues to play as he has been, his minutes, as long with his fantasy value, will increase.
I think he'll be able to start by Thanksgiving?
I think if he continues the production he has had in recent games, he should definitely start.
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to start him. All right, next guy, Spencer Dinwiddie. With Jeremy Lin's injury occurring on the opening night of the season for the Nets, somebody needs to step up and take either the alternate guard spot or the backup spot of D'Angelo Russell. He's obviously the one guard on that team, and someone needs to back him up because you can't play 48 minutes a night. And with Dinwiddie having 2 29-plus fantasy performances in the last 4 games, it shows his promise as a player. I don't see his ceiling getting much higher than it is right now, but I don't see him getting any worse. So I think right now with his consistent production, I think he'll be fine. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I think that he has performed pretty well in the last 4 games, averaging 16 points in those. And yeah, I could definitely see his fantasy value staying at the level it has been. He's filled in for Jeremy Lin quite well.
All right. Overall, our advice for the waiver wire is just stay active, look at the averages, see who's doing well. And if any injuries happen on your team, head over to Backside and we'll give you some advice on who to pick up. All right, next topic is players with high trade value right now. They've been playing well recently, and if you trade them right now, you'll probably get a lot for them. First guy is Kristaps Porzingis. In 3 of his last 4 games, he's had 30-plus and over 7 rebounds. Don't get me wrong, he's pretty good, but I don't think he'll be able to keep up 30 points a night. Not many players can just do that. He got a hot stretch, and you can argue that he will do it, that Melo's gone, that he can continue this. That's what you could argue during the trades, but I don't think it'll keep it up. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that he won't be able to keep up as well as he's played. And also, from an injury aspect, he's playing for a Knicks team that isn't in playoff contention. So if he has any sort of injury, he's going to miss games. They're not going to play him if he's questionable at all because they want to conserve his health for the future.
Yeah, so any chance you have right now, trade Kristaps you can get for quite a bit for him right now. All right, next guy, Devin Booker. In 2 of his last 3 games, he's had 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. That's a pretty good stat line for fantasy, but I don't think Devin Booker will be able to keep up 30 a night. Well, with the Eric Bledsoe trade happening, probably going to happen because the Suns GM, they're doing their thing. But I don't think once the trade goes through, they'll probably get somebody new for him, maybe a point guard, maybe somebody else, but I don't think he'll be able to keep this up. So if you can trade Devin Booker right now, just bring up the 70-point performance and be like, hey, he might do that again. So you can argue that. What do you think about Devin Booker?
Yeah, I would definitely say trade him. He's not going to keep up this production, especially if they're going to bring in more pieces. I mean, Bledsoe being out will obviously raise his stats, so I don't think he'll keep it up either. Yeah, I
Yes.
agree. You should definitely trade him. I don't know shit about basketball. I'm gonna fucking. I've dropped the water bottle. I'm out.
All right, next guy is Dennis Schroeder. All 3 games he's played this year, he's had over 20 points and 6 assists. He's been hurt a little bit. He missed a couple games, but I think you should be able to trade him and argue that he's going to be the next franchise player for the Hawks because he's the only guy left from their recent run of success. So maybe you could get like a Kyle Lowry or D'Angelo Russell type player from him. What do you think of Dennis Schroeder?
Yeah, I definitely think that he's a good fantasy value, but you could argue that he's overrated.
All right,
at this
last
point.
segment we got is the low trade value guys. These are guys that are pretty good players, but they haven't played as well as they can recently. So if you traded for them right now, you could probably get a good bargain for them. First guy is Klay Thompson. Klay's averaging 21 points a game and under 4 rebounds and under 3 assists. This is not that good of a stat line if you combine turnovers and personal fouls for fantasy. Under 30 fantasy points a game. And he has the ability to explode on any given night, and he hasn't done that yet this season. So if you could trade for him, you have a lot of upside with this trade. What do you think about Klay?
Yeah, I don't really like Klay Thompson.
Just like as a person or like as a player?
Pick one.
Talk about him as a person.
He's just seems like the most boring person, the most vanilla person.
I feel like if you have a vanilla person as a basketball player, they can focus more on actual basketball. Like they're not like focused on off-court issues. Like Klay has he had an off-court issue besides that horrible 360 dunk this summer?
He just gives me a bad vibe.
And that's on a court. It went viral for the wrong reason, but it's on a court. I don't know. I don't know where you see it from that. Well, you can trade for Klay Thompson pretty low right now. I'd suggest trading for him. Don't listen to your boy over there.
You could definitely trade for him, but I just don't like him.
All right. Well, next guy. All right, next guy is Paul George. He's been playing good basketball at Oklahoma City. Like he's become more of an intelligent basketball player, I'd say. With Melo and Russ around him, become more of a team player. He's obviously not putting up the fantasy stats he has the last couple of years, but you could argue that he's gone like completely down the drain with fantasy. Like Melo and Russ are taking all of his stats away. Like he's had I think a game under like double digits this year, which is completely uncommon for a player of this skill level. So I think you could trade for Paul George because I think the big 3 in Oklahoma City, they can start figuring things out and maybe average up to like maybe 60 points a night, maybe more, 70 a night, like between those 3, and that's pretty good. So I think you should trade for Paul George right now. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I think you should trade for Paul George. I expect his production to go up. Right now, chemistry is a little bit of an issue, but I definitely think that they can work things out, and I definitely think that his fantasy production will increase.
Yeah. All right, last player we got, Draymond Green. Draymond Green had some recent altercations with Washington, and he hasn't had too many quality fantasy performances this year. Like if you just go look at the stat line, it doesn't say that he got ejected and got into a fight during his thing. It just says he had like 2 fantasy points. So you can argue that he's had just an off night and he hasn't played very well. So if I don't project him or predict he's going to get in that many ejections, so I just suggest that you get Draymond Green right now because like he's a triple-double threat. Like he has a lot of fantasy upside. Do you like him? Do you like Donkey?
I don't like him, but I do have to agree that he does have fantasy upside. He definitely will put up better stats than he has so far.
All right, yeah. And one more question for you. How's Holden doing? Is he okay upstairs mentally?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Well, we just went from talking about football to talking about basketball. Like, we kind of just changed the tables on him. So I don't know how he's doing. Kind of just stormed out. I haven't seen him since.
Me either.
Maybe he'll be next video. All right, if you like this video, check out the link in the description to go over to our website. We got a lot of articles about NBA, NFL, fantasy basketball, fantasy football, all that stuff. And if you like that, go check it out.
Yeah, and we'll have videos up each week. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Backside Athletics.